All right, it's a new year and a new audio engineering you. You've learned a little bit now about some top-down mixing. So what do you say today we talk a little bit about foundation to keep from breaking those New Year's resolutions? So in my previous video, I talked about the concept of top-down mixing, which you can check out here. However, if you're thinking about wanting to start from the very beginning of this thought process, we're going to want to go back a video prior where we talk about editing and prepping a mix session. But real talk for a second. With these videos, they're not easy watching. These aren't quick, clickbaity, watch for this quick tip or that, where I walk you through a quick plugin and some settings. What I did was I recorded myself from start to finish, working on a song and trying to explain the way that I approach a mix. I'm not telling you that the way that I mix is the best and only way to mix, but rather sharing my thought process. I'm not on YouTube trying to become a super famous YouTuber, but rather I absolutely just love talking about audio engineering and sharing ideas. And this is my forum to share the way that I think about mixing and recording. And if I'm being really honest with you, nothing I'm going to show you is going to make you great. Nothing that you're going to learn in school, if you go to school for audio engineering, is going to make you great. Nothing you're going to learn interning is going to make you great. You're going to make yourself great. And it's how you approach learning that's really going to determine the rate of your growth. And my thought process and the way that I approach these videos is, rather than showing you a 8K boost on a kick drum, to talk about why there might be a need for an 8K boost. So we have our first video where we talked about top down, and we could think about generally using that to set the flavor and the vibe for the song. So the previous video we did that. Now we're going to go in and start making some decisions, balancing decisions. Who's going to step forward? While the money might be in the mid-range of a mix, definitely the power and the impact is going to be in the low end. And one of the most important decisions we can make is deciding which instrument is going to be the foundational low-end instrument. And as we find out when we hop inside this DAW, I elect to choose the bass guitar over the kick drum. So I hope you enjoy watching. And please, as you are going through this, remember, I'm not telling you anything that's designed to be gospel. What I am doing is making suggestions for you to think about things a little different, to challenge the way that you do stuff, and then in turn, to throw all the cool ideas you come up with in the comment section and challenge me. And that way we continue to learn and grow as a community. So let's hop inside the DAW and get started. The first area that I want to get to is going to be the drums and bass. So we're going to work with the kick and the bass. Here I don't mind jumping into solo a little bit, but I still try to focus more on doing things in the context of the mix. We just made a bunch of moves in the context of the mix. We're listening in the context of the mix. We have a plan. So jumping into solo for a second to really hear something, nobody's gonna die. I know that sometimes like, never do anything in solo. Or,
we follow orders or people die.
it's okay to do something solo, but don't base everything off what you do in solo. Meaning don't EQ everything in solo and make it sound dope on its own in solo and then bring it all together and think that it's going to be, amazing. So I would advise strongly against that. But maybe it works for you and you have killer mixes, and I stand corrected. Right now, I'm just trying to find something that will allow me to convert this to stereo. I know that there's things I can use. I'm just debating what might be my best choice. thing for me was I knew I wanted a wide bass. This plugin isn't a magic plugin, it's just a chorusing plugin, but it's helping me get to my point faster, and that's all that matters to me. So I wouldn't get obsessed with the plugin. It's free, that's awesome, but anything that does what this does, which is help, you know, widen out of sound, will work just as fine. This is the one I know, I pop it on, I move on with my life. So what I did here, this is the general processing that I use for bass in a lot of my work. It's kind of just a starting spot. And if I'm not mistaken, the Neve component of it is kind of, I think, an Andy Wallace mix move. I definitely learned it from someone. I think it was Andy Wallace. And what I'm doing is I'm using the Neve and I'm bumping the 35 hertz and kind of to a spot where it doesn't sound like super crazy obnoxious, but yet obnoxious to a degree. And then put on the high pass at 50, and you kind of get like a nice little bump in, you know, an area that doesn't just boost all the garbage that is unusable. And then I like to find a mid-range spot that I can kind of crank a little bit as well. For me, it'll either be 700 or the 1.6. And I like to level match so that I'm not just getting a lot of extra level from there. And then this is one compressor for me, the 1176 and the LA-2A. It's doing one thing. And the 1176 is adding just a little bit of aggression to the notes and also just catching any peaks. Now this is a synth played bass line, so a little bit different than a bass player playing where you might get a greater variance in notes to notes, which the 1176 will help kind of, you know, clean a little bit of that up, any of the wild playing. And then the LA-2A is like the finisher. It's nice and smooth, and it helps to level things out. And the little bit of low that I felt I was losing from the 1176 most of the time, I feel like I picked back up with the LA-2A. So now from here, I normally will pop on some sort of drive plug-in to add a little bit of harmonics. It's a good time to use the mix knob, mainly because the saturation for me is bringing out the perceived fingering of the notes. So that's what I'm getting, the neck component of it, and a little bit of that definition and aggression. Don't want to go too over the top, so revisiting that mix level might be something that we do through the course of this progression. And again, I have the chorusing effect at the end because I don't really want to do any processing on top of that. It's really, that's my big widener at the end. So the only other thing I do now is I'm just going to pop it on, and then we're going to go and move on and not do anything with it yet, which is an EQ. And it's just going to be to clean up our lows. So we're just going to kind of put it here for now. And we're going to start looking at the bass, drum, kick, yeah.
What'd you just say?
So as we start adding processing, it's important to check in on your gain staging. Now, since I'm building this from scratch, I have to remind myself that I have to put in my little gain staging key points. And one of them that I have in my template are various spots where I have trim plugins. And I probably will import some things momentarily, but I have a drum collector, an instrument collector, a vocal collector, and then also just a general parallel compressor. And they all have trim knobs in front so that I can turn them all down globally. And then also on my submix, I have the ability so that I don't have to go in and start changing processing and adjusting all these knobs, which could impact the way we hear things. So now I've dropped the level down significantly. All right, so I hope you found this video useful. Again, I understand that it's not quick, easy, snack-sized information and that we do kind of ping pong around. But if I'm being honest, I think that that is really the way a lot of us work when we are trying as hard as we can to keep the song as a whole at the forefront of our mind when we're mixing, and not to put blinders on and drill down into one particular instrument and just stay locked in on that until we think that we've solved that problem. In the next video, we're going to move on. We'll move on to the guitars, keys, maybe even touch on some vocals. But as always, I can't thank you enough for your support of this channel, and I hope you continue to tune in and watch these videos, and please, as you're learning, come up with ideas of your own, share them below. Have a great start to your new year, everybody. See you soon.